is me, Daniel D, with the What's Wrong with America podcast. This is season 3, episode 3. No, season 2, episode 3. Whatever. It's the What's Wrong with America podcast. It is Sunday, July 11th, 2021. I could talk about what's wrong with me, but that's kind of complicated and it's difficult to do. So instead, I'm going to talk about what's wrong with our society as a whole, right? I haven't figured out what's wrong with my own life, but I'm qualified to tell you what's wrong with the whole fucking country. Actually, I think I am. Here's what's wrong. Well, one of the many things. I mean, there's stuff right with America. I don't want to just be negative all the time, but here's a big thing that's wrong with America. And not just America, but the world at large. And that is the fucking financial system, which is rigged to basically fuck over everybody except for the people who are directly in the financial services industry or connected to it somehow. And, of course, the politicians, surprise, surprise, after they leave office, will go and make 6 figures a pop to give speeches to bankers. It's kind of like, hey, you took care of us, now we're going to take care of you, and set a precedent so that future politicians know what happens when they play by the rules set by the mighty bankers. So like Barack Obama, for example, America's first black president, hope and change. He had this inspiring message when he was running for office. I think, as Bill Hicks talked about, I think when the first new president comes in, just like Bill Hicks said, there's like a smoke-filled room, leather chairs and, a bunch of guys sitting around drinking scotch, smoking cigars, guys in suits, old white men. And they lower a screen and bring out a projector. And then they show all these images of the Kennedy assassination, only from an angle we've never seen before. And then they kind of turn to the new president and they're like, all right, you going to play ball or, are we going to be friends or are we going to be foes? And just keep in mind that we take care of our friends after they leave office. 6 figures a pop to give speeches will set you up with rich and famous people so that you'll get all kinds of great deals on things so that you'll be a multimillionaire and your kids will live the lives of the upper 1/10%. And I think the presidents pretty much all say, which I admit it would be hard not to, given those kind of choices. But I think the new presidents are like, yep, okay, I'll play ball, right? Like Obama, all that hope and change. What's the first thing he did? Bailed out the banks. And if Bush had been in office longer, he would have done it. And they started to bail out the banks under Bush, but Obama was the one who, that was his first piece that he really got through was bailing out those fucking bankers. And surprise, surprise, he's now giving 6-figure pop speeches to the same bankers. I guess Trump was already a billionaire, so he was like, fuck you, I'm not under anybody. Maybe that's to his credit. Maybe it's just because he's a narcissist and it's like, it wasn't on some kind of moral principle that he told the bankers to go fuck themselves. But it was like, hey, I'm a billionaire. Fuck you. You're fired. You can't tell me what to do. Regardless, the bankers didn't like Trump, which I think is part of the reason why he was a one-term president. In spite of, you can really criticize stuff that he did during his time in office. I think he did do some good stuff that, people are either Trump was the best president of all time or Trump was the worst president of all time, depending on whether you're on the right or the left. But honestly, he did some good things. He did some fucking shitty things too, but, whatever. All right. So anyway, the bankers though, the fucking bankers, those motherfuckers, right? Here's how it works. Let me explain this to you in basically an analogy, right? Like the bankers, what are the okay, first of all, who produces things of value in our society? You got people who produce goods and services. Sometimes it's like they're an entrepreneur or an inventor, or maybe they're a, independent contractor. Maybe they're like a, an artist, creative type, they create content, whatever. Like yours truly, except I'm not getting paid for this, but, they produce stuff, right? Or you got people that produce a service, they're like hairdressers or teachers or, fucking you name it. Anybody who does something that adds value that people are willing to pay money for, right? Who doesn't produce a fucking thing? The fucking financial sector. Oh, they don't produce the money. The government does that. The government prints the money, gives it to the banks for basically nothing. Like, here's a very low an interest rate as you could possibly have without it being a gift. Here's the money, pay it back whenever you can. And the bankers are like, oh, great. And they turn around and they lend it to us, the people who need money, at like 10, 20, 30, 40% interest or higher, depending on what kind of lender you're dealing with. Or maybe it's a home loan and it's only like 3.5%, 4%, but still, you got to have, if you don't have a VA home loan like yours truly, thank you, VA. If you don't have a VA home loan, though, you're going to have to get mortgage insurance or shit like that, right? Or you're going to have to get some kind of federally backed loan. Basically, the bankers are like, no skin in the game at all if you take out a loan for your house. It's like they got, they got, of course, a mortgage against the house, but they also got, some guarantee from the VA, from the FHA, whatever, or the mortgage insurance that you bought, but they still charge 3-4%, whatever, APR or a car, whatever, right? And then it's like after they loan all this money to people or they loan money to businesses, you have a business and you need to buy some new equipment. What do? You go to a bank. The bank takes this money that they got for basically free from the government and loans it to you at an interest rate. And if you miss a payment, they take over your company, right? That's basically the way it works. Now, these bankers have the best racket like ever, And to put it in perspective, let's take something else that everybody needs, right? Let's say everybody needs clean drinking water, right? And so the government, produces all this clean drinking water, but they don't just, go give it directly to the people or even sell it to the people. They give it to water companies. Let's just say this is a hypothetical, right? The government produces, purifies, treats all this water. They give it to, the water companies, and the water companies charge, mark it up 1,000%. And then, something that everybody needs, they get for basically free, and they get to turn around and just charge whatever the fuck they want. Now, utilities can't do that. Utilities are regulated, so it's like they can't just charge whatever they want. But the banks, there's not the same kind of regulations or protections there. It's like they can charge whatever the fuck they want. The worse off you are, the more they will price gouge you, And so it's like, it's a pretty sweet gig. You got something, everybody needs money. You want to go out, unless you're going to go to a flea market and try to barter stuff, which is really hard to do. You go to any store and try to say like, hey, I'd like to trade you this pair of shoes for, a pound of potatoes, or they're not going to do it. But right, so everybody needs money to get by in our culture, and the bankers get the money for basically free from the government, and they turn around and price gouge the fuck out of ordinary people. And again, the worse off you are, if you're poor, they really fucking gouge you, like, oh, put the title for your car that's worth $500 that allows you to get to and from your job, but you're making minimum wage and you're living below the poverty line. And, we'll take the title for your car and use it as collateral to loan you $1,000 on a car that's worth $500, right? And then it's like the person can pay back $100 a week for a year and still owe $800 on the car, because the interest rates on those title loans is out fucking rageous. It's in the thousands of percent APR, like literally. How that's not a loan shark, I guess they don't come and break your legs. They just come and take your car away so you can't drive to work. So that's just like, don't ever go to those cash for title loan type places, because that's like the absolute worst. In fact, whenever there's riots anywhere, that's one business I love to see get gutted and burned to the fucking ground. Fuck those motherfuckers, But anyway, so the bankers got this thing. They get something that everybody needs. They get it for basically free. They price gouge the fuck out of people. Even businesses aren't immune to this. Because again, if you want to expand your business, you got two ways to do it. Either you sell ownership in your company, or you get some loans. You issue bonds, whatever. And then it's like the banks are like, all right, we got you now. You better make all your payments or we're going to take over your fucking company, right? So then the bankers take this money, and you would think that like having basically a free inventory that somebody gives you, and then you're able to just jack up the prices to whatever you want, that would be enough. Like that would be enough to put your kids through school, to buy the nicest house in the neighborhood, to whatever it is, have a garage full of, sports cars, whatever your dream might be. But that's not enough for these fucking bankers, these greedy fucks. It's not enough to just take, 30% on your credit card balance or 1,000,000% on your title loan place. Or even if you, just own a business and you issue some bonds or you get a loan for your small business, even 5-10%, whatever. It's like, it's not enough for them. It's not enough. It's not enough that they have like a few yachts that they own their own private island, whatever. They need more because they're greedy motherfuckers. And so those bankers, what do? They come up with these gambling schemes, these, well, they call them investments, financial instruments, but it's all a fucking casino, that basically they're the house, they set the rules, and then they gamble with it, so they take your credit card debt and they merge it with all the other credit card debt, and they turn it into a bond and they sell that, and they take your home loan and they package it together with other home loans and they sell it as a bond, And so it's like they find a way to take even their lucrative trade and make it even more lucrative, right? So like after the recession, most of the gains in the economy were concentrated in the financial sector or businesses that started acting like banks, buying and trading financial assets, buying back their own stock, whatever, right? So then say the bankers, those greedy fucks decide this isn't enough. All this riches that I have. I need more. So they go to the casino with all this money that they've gotten hand over fist and they bet it all on black at the roulette wheel and bam, it comes up red. Do the bankers say, well, I got to learn my lesson. Or at least I got this lucrative, business that the government set me up with, where they give me inventory of this product, money that everybody needs, and I'm able to gouge the fuck out of people and businesses, and even come up with little, gambling schemes, based on these financial instruments that I put together. I should learn my lesson and, I'll just go start over. Nope, they come to the government. Hey, buddy, old pal, when times are good, of course, we are strong believers in the free market and in capitalism. What's ours is ours. But when times are bad, socialism doesn't sound so bad. How about a government? Can you bail us out? Can you make our losses public? We'll keep, when the winnings are good, they're private. They're ours. But when we lose, they're going to practice socialism for a little bit until we can get back on our feet and pay our executives huge bonuses and pay huge dividends to our shareholders because, that's the kind of business we run, right? So it's not enough. They need bailouts and they get all the money. And then do you think they bail out any of the people that owe them money? You think they show any grace, any mercy? Like, hey, we know times are hard because we wrecked the economy and the financial system and we just got bailed out. So tell you what, if you owe us money, we'll give you a period of time to get back on your feet since you lost your job in this recession that we caused. Nope, they don't do that. Pay up, motherfucker, pay up. It's like there's two parables of Jesus that kind of come to mind about the fucking bankers. First is there's the parable of there's a guy who owes like millions of dollars to this king. And this is back in the day during slavery, indentured servitude and all that. And so he goes before the king and he's like, please don't throw me in prison. I know you could, sell my family into slavery and take everything that I own, but please have mercy on me. I owe you all this money, but just have mercy on me and I'll pay it back. And the king forgave him. Yeah, you owe me several $1 million. You'll never be able to pay it back. So I forgive you. Go in peace. And then this guy who just got forgiven this huge debt goes and finds some poor person who owes him a few dollars and is like, pay up, motherfucker. I'm going to throw you in debtor's prison. And then, of course, the king finds out about this and he's pissed off rightly at the guy. And he's like, hey, fuck you. I had mercy on you. You didn't have mercy on somebody that owed you a fraction of what you owe me. So to prison with you, motherfucker. You wish Jesus sometimes ran our government like 2008, 2009 when those fucking bankers destroyed the economy and cost lots of people their jobs and got all kinds of grace and mercy and bailouts from the public and gave them jack shit in return, right? There's another parable of Jesus, which is like the stewards, it's like this guy's going away on a journey. So he takes 3 of his servants and he gives them a talent. One, which is like a unit of money. One guy he gives 1 talent to, another 5, another 10. And then he comes back, the guy with 10 talents traded him. And I'm probably getting the numbers wrong here, but he doubled it, whatever he had. So he's like, well done, good and faithful servant. The next guy, same thing, he doubled it. Like, well done. Then the guy with 1 talent comes out and he's like, well, I knew you're a hard man, so I just hid the talent. I just buried it in the ground. Here it is back. And he's like, you fuckhead. Now in that case, he's like talking about interest, which of course, this is like, if you're familiar with Judaism, which Jesus was a Jew, it's like under the law of Moses, right? You're not supposed to lend at interest to your fellow Jew. You're not, it's forbidden. And Jesus actually talked about that, with debts, how you should forgive your debtors as you want God to forgive you, right? So it's kind of like this thing, but for illustrative purposes, takes this world system of like interest and says, you could have, to the guy who just had the 1 talent, you could have gone to the lenders and, you put the talent out with interest. But here's what, if the American government and the Secretary of the Treasury and the Chairman of the Fed, old Janet Yellen, if they were the ones to write this parable, it would be like the guy with 100 talents went out and ripped a bunch of people off, fucked a bunch of people over, but then that wasn't enough. He had like quintupled it. Now he's got 1,000 talents and he's like, this just isn't enough. It's not enough to be the richest guy around. I gotta have even more money. So he goes and he gambles it and bam, he loses and he, wrecks the local economy and people are out of work. And if he came back, old Janet Yellen would say, well done, good faithful sir. How much do you need? Oh, what was it? You lost 1,000 talents? Here's 10,000. Go fuck some more people over. Basically how that would work. One quick thing I wanted to mention is, all right, sometimes in the past, people have criticized bankers. And there's been kind of this blending of like being anti-bankers and being anti-Semitic. Like people, I guess there's a myth, like the Nazis told about like Jews, like, oh, they're these money-grubbing people, they're blah, blah, blah. There's this cabal of Jewish bankers and blah, 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 right? But the other criticism that's made of Jews is they're communists. And Hitler made both. Jews are both the bankers, these greedy the worst of capitalists. And then he's like, Jews are communists. They're friends of like Marx. They're friends of the Soviets and blah, blah, blah. And you hear that a lot. Like, people will make both criticisms of the Jews. So it's like, come on, man. Like, give me a break. So you're saying the same people are both arch capitalist and arch communist, Like 1 minute you're talking about George Soros, who is a real piece of shit. Fuck that guy. George Soros, and he's like this greedy capitalist who somehow salves his, evil conscience by funding all these radical left-wing, anti-American programs. And then it's like people, point out that he's Jewish. Some people, because there are anti-Semites out there. And, they'll point out, oh, George Soros, Jewish, blah, 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 blah. But then like Bernie Sanders is also Jewish. And it's like, so you got both, you got people like capitalists, you got people who are communists. It's just basically like, what matters is, are you a greedy fuck or are you like a good person? It doesn't matter. And there's people of all religions and ethnicities and races and everything else in both categories. And that's really the only distinction that matters. Are you a good person or are you a total fuckhead? If you work in investment banking, there's like a 100% chance you're a total fuckhead. They don't fucking do anything. What do they make? What is $1? $1 is basically a variable. It's like it stands in the place of some good or service. It's basically like in algebra, the letter X is a variable. Solve for X. X isn't anything in itself. It just stands in the place for, represents some unknown value, right? And that's what money basically does. It's like, it's not a good or a service. It's like a variable that allows you to trade goods and services with other people, right? So it's like if you produce money, like the Fed, like the banks, you really are producing nothing, And in fact, if you're the Fed and you're just printing fucking money, it's basically a tax. You don't come right out and say it's a tax, but it's a tax. It's a tax on people who saved money. It's a tax on workers because their wages don't keep up with inflation. It's a tax on retirees, people on fixed income. It's a tax. It's a tax on business people because they got to raise their prices to try to keep up with inflation and rising costs on their end. And consumers aren't happy because why is your prices going up again? It's a tax on everybody all the way around. And it's actually, I haven't seen it quantified, or I'm sure it is, but it's probably one of the larger taxes that people basically pay without realizing they're paying it, And who does it go to benefit? The goddamn motherfucking bankers. So what's the moral of the story? What's wrong with America? I'll tell you what's wrong. One of the big things that's wrong, the fucking financial system. Now, Bernie Sanders, he's far left. There's a lot of stuff that he talked about that I didn't agree with. However, I think the guy is really a man of principle. He believes what he says. He's not just running, for office because he just has a big ego. No, he really believes what he's saying. He really believes the banks are the problem. Or one of the problems, the biggest of many problems. But he's like, fuck the banks. And I'm like, yes, fuck the motherfucking banks, those motherfuckers. So that's why I liked Bernie Sanders. Unfortunately, he didn't win. Got Joe Biden, who I guarantee you, once he leaves office, is going to be making the rounds of all the big banks, giving speeches, 6 figures a pop, and if he's not well enough cognitively to do it, if they can't wheel him out of the nursing home, and get his Alzheimer's under control for long enough to make speeches to the bankers, you better believe his crooked son, Hunter Biden, is going to be there giving speeches, cashing in on Papa's name, the big guy's name, making 6 figures a pop, So that's the problem with America. The bankers, and they own the politicians, and so basically they own the government. And they get free carte blanche access to the treasury whenever they want. It's their private piggy bank. So if we want to make America great again, how about we fucking destroy the banks? Break those motherfucking banks up. Hell, even publicize the banks, or whatever. Like, expropriate their assets and make it public. Like, what? And that sounds communist? Okay, sure. But basically that's what we got now. As it is, the government produces the money and gives it to the banks so the banks can then give it to us at a huge markup. Why not cut out the middleman? What do we need the fucking banks for? They don't produce the money. They don't produce jack shit. They get their fucking money for free from the government, and then they rip us off. Anytime we need money from them, if you put the money on deposit with them, you get what? Like 0.05% for a savings account? Like 0.9% for a CD or 1% for a CD? I mean, yeah. And then if you borrow from them, a credit card, 10, 20, 30, 40%, whatever, man. Fucking banks, man. Fuck. There's no other business like that. No other business. Like McDonald's, like nobody gives them beef. Nobody gives them buns. Nobody gives them any of that stuff. They get it, develop it, grow it, produce it, buy it themselves. And then they turn around and they manage to charge like very little for it. Even in spite of inflation, they still have practically a dollar menu, at McDonald's. But the banks, those greedy cocksuckers, it's not enough. Never enough. All the yachts that they have, all the mansions that they have, all the summer homes that they have, all the fucking parties that they go to on private islands with underage girls, hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein. Not ever is it enough. Never do the bankers say, you know what, we're good. We're rich now. How about we, start lowering interest rates on people and, cutting ordinary people some slack. Don't fucking do it, So here's the thing. Protests, riots. What I don't like about Black Lives Matter, not to say they're not protesting some real shit, but they misdiagnose so much of the problem, misdirect so much of the anger. So many people in America of all races really got the feeling, and especially after the 08, 09, financial meltdown, like, wow, the game is rigged. Ordinary people are being fucked. The very rich are fucking everybody over. They own the government. They own the politicians. Like, people are like, yeah, it's all fucked up. So you had Occupy Wall Street, which was right the fuck on. Wall Street's the problem. You know, and then that kind of died down. And now you got, like, the counterculture is Black Lives Matter. Like, they've captured all the energy, all the anger, really on the left, you know, when it comes to these issues. But they make it all about race. Here's the thing. It's like, I'm not saying that race isn't relevant, or that, you know, there's not such a thing in some situations as white privilege. Not every situation, but in some situations, yes. You know, all other things being equal, I'll grant that. Given the history, it's not a stretch to believe that, you know, you do that race matters for something, but it's not the only factor. And I would argue it's not even the largest factor. Socioeconomic classes, like what kind of income and assets do you have? You know, what social circles do you move in? That really matters more than your race. Not to say the race doesn't matter, but it's not the only thing. But it's like BLM, again, what I don't like about them, they take anger that should be directed at the bankers, and they direct it at, like, broke-ass white people. Like, Trump supporters who, you know, are out of work themselves, struggling to make ends meet. They finally found a guy who's, like, not going to apologize to the woke mob, and they're like, here's somebody that, you know, that I can get behind. He's not telling me I'm just guilty because I'm white and I need to, you know, suffer and atone for my white privilege, no matter how broke I am, no matter what my problems are. You know, he's talking to me as if my problems matter. That's what Trump did. And you know, and so people respond to that and say, you know, oh, Black Lives Matter. Here's the enemy, broke ass white people. No, if you're broke and you're black, or if you're broke and you're Mexican, or if you're broke and you're Asian, or if you're broke and you're white, you got more in common with other broke people, no matter what the race is, than you ever have with an elite of your own race. You know? So that's why, you know, this is kind of drifting off this topic here, but it's the truth. And so that's what I'm saying. I don't like about Black Lives Matter. I wish the left would get back to Occupy Wall Street, because that really captured it, because the banks are fucking everybody over. They're fucking the black. Who do you think came up with redlining? The fucking banks. Who do you think has discriminatory practices when it comes to lending? The banks. You know, you want to know who's fucking people over, who's really behind a lot of the fucking that's going on, you know, that's not of a pleasant or consensual kind. It's the motherfucking banks. So BLM, Antifa, next time you want to riot, go to Wall Street, march into the New York Stock Exchange, fucking throw your Molotov cocktails at all the fucking pig bankers that you see, and know that when you've done that, you have correctly identified the number one enemy of the American people, and especially of the working poor, and especially of those who owe money for student loans, right? The bankers, those fucking pricks, right? Like, so Antifa, BLM, and Proud Boys, and people on the right. Hey, don't go in the Capitol on January 6th trying to fucking hang Mike Pence. Like, give me a fucking break. Mike Pence is on your side. Don't you fucking realize that, you schmuck? No, you know, and I don't like Mike Pence, but I'm just saying, like, if you're a Proud Boy, like, Mike Pence should be somebody that you actually like. Don't go in the Capitol trying to hang him. But if you're going to go storming any buildings trying to hang people, go to the fucking stock exchange. Go to one of these fucking bank headquarters and, you know, go to their next meeting when they have a board meeting and hang every fucking buddy on the board. That's what you should do. All right. And on that note, wow, let off some steam about the motherfucking bankers. So anyway, yep, that's what I think. And it is Sunday, July 11th, 2021. This is season 2, episode 3 of the What's Wrong with America podcast, featuring your host, Daniel D., also of the Crazy Comedy, Humor, and Satire podcast. So anyway, till next time, peace out, motherfuckers.